Hey, what's up? Stefan here, and today I want to talk to you about fascinations, which are also sometimes referred to as curiosity bullets. Really, just that. So this is a talk I've created that I've actually never given in public before, and I was sitting here thinking I might as well take some time to share it with the public. So the art of fascinations, using curiosity to hook prospects, increase engagement, and make more sales. Let's jump right in. I'll make myself a little bit tinier, I feel like, so that, I'm not so obstructive, but you'll get to see me. Okay, so, here's what we're going to cover. Why using something called the alpha omega technique can drastically increase sales and conversions, the 11 fascination bullet types that are guaranteed to captivate prospects' attention, the strange link between bass fishing and increasing engagement in your copy, and a whole lot more. And by the way, those are all fascinations, as we'll talk about. All right, quick background. Who am I? Why should you listen to me if you've never watched one of my videos before on YouTube or just aren't familiar with my content? My name is Stefan. I'm considered one of the best direct response copywriters in the world. Since starting in 2011, my words have grossed over, roughly $1 billion in sales. I'm pretty confident it's over by a bit now. I've written for big brands like V-Shred and the voice of people like Mike Tyson and Tommy Chong. I have just had a lot of success in direct response marketing, let's put it that way. I've written 50 plus direct response marketing pieces that have grossed at least $1 million. Some of them have grossed over $100 million, which is pretty nifty. I'm working on a white hat supplement company, which God knows if that'll actually hit 9.5 figures in revenue within the next year or not. There's a lot of other stuff I'm doing in addition to that. Honestly, this presentation, like I said, I created maybe 6 months ago. I'm still hoping that supplement company can do well, but not my number one focus. I built a previous health and wellness company that got to 23 million in revenue in a single year, and I'm one of the highest paid freelancers on earth for copywriting, specifically when I'm available to be hired. This is social proof. Here's CNBC's Grow, talking about how I earned 1.3 million in 2020 just from freelancing. That's not in doesn't include all my other businesses and things like that. This is the list.tv calling me the millionaire freelance matchmaker because I help freelancers a lot to get matched with clients. I'm also a husband and father. I'm someone who counts myself to be pretty darn lucky. That's my beautiful, amazing daughter, Eden, before a dance class. This is Rick Ross pointing at me because I put this picture in pretty much all of my presentations because it's Rick Ross pointing at me. It's just a cool picture. But let's get into the meat of stuff, right? What are fascinations? Okay. They are short, punchy lines of copy that are very curiosity heavy. And they're also, like I said, sometimes referred to as curiosity bullets. Now we're going to look at a ton of examples, but let's talk about where we find them. The two most common places where fascinations show up is in the beginning of your sales copy or your presentation or your pitch, and that's the alpha, and towards the end when you're selling your product or service, and that's the omega. So in the beginning of your sales copy or your presentation or your pitch, these are all places you can use fascinations. The purpose of them is to get a prospect to keep reading or watching or listening. So when I gave you those bullets at the beginning of this talk of what we would discover, the alpha omega technique, the bass fishing thing, I'm trying to basically get you curious so that you keep reading, watching, or listening. The way you can kind of look at it is that you're creating an itch for your prospect and you're promising that if they keep engaging with your ad or your content, that you will scratch that itch. So it makes them feel like they have to keep watching because the itch is driving them crazy and they want to get it scratched. Or they have to keep listening or reading or whatever it is. Second place is towards the end when you're selling your product or service, and that is the omega. So at the end, the purpose is to get your prospect to buy your product or service or to take action. So in this case, you're creating an itch, but this time you're saying that if you want the itch scratched, you've got to buy the product or service or take some sort of action. That's the second type. So let's look first and foremost at fascinations in the beginning of your sales copy, presentation, or pitch. Generally, in the opening of your copy, you're always going to have a big promise, right? This is your core value proposition to the prospect. If you keep reading, if you keep reading, watching, listening, I'm going to show you how to alleviate your most urgent and relevant pain point or how to get this big benefit. That's your sort of big promise, right? So here are some examples. I have the text in here. This is an offer for a digestion and kind of cleanse supplement. The promise is, hey, if you keep reading the sales letter, I'm going to be handing you an easy, proven way to speed up your digestion from the comfort of your own home in about 20 seconds. Right? That is in the lead of the offer, the beginning, the opening. But then we also have fascinations, because what happens if the prospect is only moderately interested in that promise? What if they're like, well, that sounds okay. I don't know if I really want to keep reading this long letter you've written, right? Well, here's what we have in the copy, and this is where fascinations can save the day. In the case of this copy example, later on in the opening we say, plus in a few moments from now, I'll also reveal the truth about whether there's 5 to 20 pounds of toxic old poop stuck in your colon right now. You'll find out what a lazy stomach is and why one of America's most celebrated medical doctors thinks it could be an energy vampire that's leaving us exhausted without our knowledge. And you'll see why some of our most stubborn belly fat may not actually be fat at all. So if the prospect was reading the sales letter and they're kind of only interested in this 20-second digestion, fix or whatever it is, now by being like, I'm also going to show you this, this, and this, one of these things might create the itch, right? Like, finding out if there really is 5 to 20 pounds of toxic old poop stuck in your colon right now, because people, that's a claim that gets used in marketing, so we're going to tell them if that's true or not. Lazy stomach is interesting. Well, what's a lazy stomach? I want to know about it, right? My stubborn belly fat may not be fat at all. Like, what does that mean? So these are all fascinations. This is from a sales letter that I wrote, by the way. We can do more examples. This is from a survival offer that worked really well back in the day. It's a DIY aquaponics offer called Backyard Liberty. And here's sort of the opening, right? Hi, my name is Alec Deacon, and in this short and controversial presentation that will not be up for long, I'm going to expose how a devastating once-in-60 years event, along with corporate greed and corruption, are setting the stage for a social and economic time bomb that will detonate right in the middle of the U.S. I'll reveal how the impending collapse of the U.S. food supply system will steal the food from your kids' tables, leaving them hungry and helpless and forcing them to scavenge for scraps. And I'll explain what you must do today to ensure that you and your family not only survive, but actually rise to the top of a fallen society when chaos rules and communities need someone to lead them. But that's not all. If you stick around until the end of this very short presentation, I'll give you a somewhat weird but insanely effective way to build a 5, 10, even 20-year stockpile of super nutritious food that the government simply cannot steal from you. Best of all, this still secret method costs you up to 20 times less than you'd have to pay on survival food, literally just a few cents per meal. And it goes on from there. So really, in that one, the big promise is, hey, I'm going to prove to you that the U.S. food supply system is about to collapse, show you what you must do today to survive and rise to the top of a fallen society, and show you what you must do. I forgot the end, right? And then this one is drenched in curiosity. It's a cool example. It's one of the reasons that I think it did so well, is the entire lead is almost written like a fascination. But, right, if you look at the part here, if you stick with me until the end of this short presentation, I'll give you a somewhat weird but insanely effective way to build a 5-year, 10-year, even 20-year stockpile of super nutrition food. Maybe I was supposed to say nutritious, but whatever, get the point. Let's look at another one. I skipped that link very fast because I don't need to have that being... just don't worry about it. But it's for a pet supplement offer, right, that I wrote. And basically the big promise is, hey, going back to a short time frame, right, there's a 10-second tweak that you can make to your dog's diet that can help them to improve virtually all aspects of their health, right? That's in the lead. That's sort of like the big promise in the lead of this video sales letter I wrote. But, right, then as we keep going, it says, plus, there's a narrator talking about the vet who's the expert here, right? It says, plus he also says, as in the doctor who's the expert, that there are 5 danger foods that all pet owners should never, ever feed their dogs. That alone is a fascination. And then, and this one was cool, is then we tease it more. So we have, the way the style is there's a narrator and the expert talking, narrator, expert talking, almost like a news art, like a news feature like you'd see on 60 Minutes, right? So you've got the fascination, like the 5 danger foods that all pet owners never ever should feed their dogs. And you've got kind of expanding on that bullet to really create even more curiosity, right? One of the foods is chocolate, so no surprise there. But the other 4 are probably not what you're expecting. One is a very common fruit. Another is a so-called superfood, and yet another is a seemingly innocent additive that's found in so many foods, including treats that you might be giving your dog right now. That one might be the worst because it can quickly give your dog a seizure. Now, this is all true. It's based on stuff that, you should never feed your dog, and real science based on this vet who's a very established, one of the world's kind of leading vets. But if you were going through the beginning of this and there's this promise of a 10-second tweak to your dog's diet, right? You're like, okay, that's interesting, but I don't know if I really believe it or not. I'm not sure if my dog will be able to benefit from this. But then you see this and you're like, oh shit, what are the danger foods? I really got to know. And now you'll keep engaging with the copy, right? So that's the power of a fascination in the beginning. And now let me pay off my bass fishing analogy for you. Because the way I look at it is like this. This is my amazing art, okay? So you've got your hooks here, right? One big one and these little ones. So this big hook is like your big promise. Hey, 10 seconds, 10-second fix that does this. I'm going to hand you a proven system for generating cash, on demand. I'm going to show you the real reason real estate gurus, following real estate gurus won't, help you to actually succeed in flipping homes and what you can do instead, right? Whatever it is, or a simple home flipping system. You've got your big core promise, and then the fascinations are like these other little mini hooks throughout the lead, right? Especially for type 1, we're talking about in the opening. So if you're a prospect here, this little prospect fish is supposed to bite the big hook. But if they happen to swim past the big hook, and maybe they can't help but bite this one, right? The 5 danger foods. So they can't help but bite this one, the lazy stomach, or this one is their 5 to 20 pounds of toxic poop. So even if they swim past the big hook, we have these other little hooks that they might swim up and bite, and to keep them hooked so that they keep going. And if we don't have that, if we just have this big hook and they swim past it, we're going to lose the prospect potentially, which is why having fascinations in your opening is so powerful. It keeps your prospect hooked and them paying attention, right? Now, number 2, fascination types when selling your product or service. Well, this is not this is when we're actually trying to sell now, right? Hey, buy the product or service. And you'll see this done more with informational type things than you would with a physical product, because usually for physical product, if I'm selling a bottle of supplements, I can't really say. And once you open the bottle, you'll discover the real reason why, ginseng wasn't working. I mean, you could try that, but it wouldn't really make sense. But for example, this is from my RMBC method, right? One of the bonuses you get is writing advertorials with Heath Wilcock. You get a ton of bonuses with my RMBC method. You can find that through my website, stefanpaulgeorgi.com, or you can probably Google RMBC method. Just make sure you're getting it from me and not some bootleg messed up version that won't have half the bonuses it's supposed to have. But anyway, right? So this is one of the bonuses, writing advertorials. And now I'm trying to sell you on buying the RMBC course, right? So when you get this module with Heath, you'll discover the 5 essential questions every advertorial must answer if you want prospects to respond, what PAS stands for, and why using this nifty little framework in your copy can increase click-through rates by over 200%, the 4 advertorial archetypes that virtually all successful advertorials follow, and Heath's specific advertorial structure he uses every time he writes and that you can use to eliminate the mystery from writing advertorials for good. So those are like, hey, when you buy my course, one of the bonuses you get is this. This is what you'll discover in the bonus. You don't get to know this information unless you buy the course, right? So now we're selling something using fascinations. This is from a dating one I found, I think. Inner game cheat sheet gives you 4 mental tricks you can use instantly to become focused, confident, and in control of any situation you find yourself in, even if you're pissed drunk, half asleep, or having the worst day of your life. The before you approach checklist. My research and surveying has found that taking 5 seconds to go over these easy-to-remember tips before you walk up to a woman increases your chances of getting laid by 87%. Now, again, I just found this online. This is not one that I wrote, and, a little bit whatever. But the weird reason why remembering 2 simple words will make you the alpha male of any group you're with, whether men or women, right? So same thing. Oh, I got to buy the products to get this inner game cheat sheet and to find out what the 5... my approach checklist is so I can increase my chances of getting laid by 87%, Here's like a another one here. I forget which, this is from, I forget who this is. Oh, the automated sewing machine? I'm not sure who this is from, but same thing. They're selling a kind of like an info product, right? The 17 fastest sales producing secrets known to man. These go against everything you've ever been told by the gurus. Page 191. The single best way to attract highly profitable dream clients. This strategy locks them down lightning fast and secures you as their trusted advisor for years to come. Page 248. How to use the Godfather strategy to craft irresistible offers that practically force your prospects to buy your product or service, page 151. Can you really increase the pulling power of all of your advertising by 900% with this little-known strategy, page 105. So as you'll note here, a cool thing they do as well is they're telling you the page numbers from this book. And so you're like, oh my gosh, and these are just a few pages, right? Well, gosh, if I get into the book or the guide or whatever, geez, what's on page 150 and 152 and 153? What's on page 192? Wow, this thing must be loaded with valuable insights. So I gotta buy it if I'm trying to get clients and create irresistible offers and do all of that kind of stuff, right? And then the pages sort of are a cool trick that you can add to that. And it's pretty common to see that when you're selling informational products via fascinations. All right, so what are the most common types of fascinations? Here's a bunch that I have sort of honed in on and used most often, and I've given them different names. Some of these are not my own, other people call them the same thing. Some I've sort of named a little bit on my own. There's a great document from Clay Makepeace and Tony Flores called the Screaming Eagle newsletter, where they talk about 21 fascination types or curiosity bullet types. It's an amazing document worth checking out too. But here are the top fascination types I use, and we're going to look at examples, right? Why, how, when, what, the secret bullet, the list bullet, the never bullet, the contrarian bullet, the named oddity bullet, the speedy bullet, and the plus bullet. So let us look at these different fascination or bullet types now. You've seen some of these already, right? So why? And I just made all of these up, actually, which was super fun. So some of them might actually be true. I'm just making these up for demonstration purposes. Right? Why people with high blood pressure should never go for a swim in a chlorinated pool. Why this Nobel Prize winning scientist from Louisiana believes he can predict hurricanes 3 months in advance. Why 4 out of 5 car salesmen surveyed refuse to drive American-made automobiles. Hint, it has nothing to do with engineering. Why global warming will mean hotter profits for these 7 tech stocks, page 12. Right? So no matter what you're selling, information-wise, or even in the lead for a physical product, you can still use these. And that's actually really important too, right? So say you're selling a high blood pressure support supplement. If you found some research about this, you like that people with high blood pressure, it increases because of contact with chlorine, which again, I don't know if that's true at all. Just totally made this up as an example. But if that was true, you could put that at the beginning of your sales letter or your sales copy, or even an ad, doesn't have to be long form, in the beginning, and then, pay it off later. Be like, oh yeah, in fact, there's a lot of things that cause high blood pressure. Not just, eating a lot of salt, but even chlorine, according to new research. So anyway, no matter what is causing high blood pressure, the point is it's not good. You want to do something about it. Get to selling the supplement, right? So that's where you could put it in the beginning. Or if it was a guide on how to naturally, lower blood pressure levels, then it could be like inside the guide, you're going to discover this. Obviously, you would make sure that you actually tell them about it inside the guide, right? But you could do this with a thing about selling cars, investments, really whatever, right? I mean, maybe you had a thing on global warming that you wanted people to pay attention to. So those are why bullets. Let's look at the how bullets. How to instantly cripple any thug who attacks you using nothing but your index finger, and even if you're 84 years old. How eating more bacon each morning could be the secret to burning 5 pounds of stubborn belly fat fast. How the ultra-rich are using something called backstopping to practically guarantee triple-digit returns on their investments, page 73. So again, totally made these up, right? I don't know what backstopping is. But that's actually a really important thing. We'll get to that with the named oddity. I'll kind of give you the spoiler now. It's maybe you find something about how, the ultra-rich are, creating hedges for their investments and, doing something with like house money or some complex instrument they're using to where, things can't get out of control, and you decide to call it backstopping, and you're like, just like in baseball, if the ball gets past the catcher, it'll hit a backstop, it won't roll forever. They create a backstop so that their investments never get away from them. There's always a stop point, right? It can even be as simple as a stop loss in trading, but you call it backstopping, right? And again, these are things you could do to sell a product or to have at the beginning of a sales letter and pay off after. Let's keep going. Let's look at the when fascinations. When the best time of the year is to become pregnant if you want a son, according to New York's most celebrated maternity expert. When to dump all of your stocks and buy gold instead. Hint, you'll know if you hear the president saying these 5 words, which are revealed on page 26 of your free report. So again, when. So we've done why, how, when, and now we're going to do what. What the world's top 0.1% of investors do during a recession, the rest of us don't. This can make you rich. What flight attendants know about booking 5-star hotels for pennies on the dollar. What most doctors never tell you about lowering your blood sugar. Hint, it has nothing to do with ACE inhibitors, diuretics, or other types of drugs. I think ACE inhibitors may be for blood pressure, or maybe I meant to put blood pressure there. But again, really the point is all this is showing you examples, right, of like how you could create curiosity bullets too. All you're doing is creating riddles, and you're teasing people, and it's like a puzzle, and you're creating the itch that people want you to scratch. Okay, here's another one, the secret bullet. The secret reason why professional bullfighters never struggle to get an erection. It has nothing to do with testosterone. Love it. God, it's great. The real secret behind Donald Trump's incredible rise to the presidency, according to his usually ignored half-brother. I don't think Donald Trump has a half-brother. Again, I'm making these up just for fun. The mayonnaise and raisin secret behind the 75-year-old celebrity's wrinkle-free skin. You know, if you are like 70 plus and you are tired of your wrinkles and want to know how to, you know, be wrinkle-free, you'd be like, what the hell is the mayonnaise and raisin secret? I'm going to keep watching or reading to find out. Or I'm going to buy the book or the guide and find out. Curiosity. That's all this is curiosity. By the way, this is like the number one thing that makes my copy better than most other people's. And that makes me able to sell $1 billion worth of stuff. And that makes me actively crushing it with $50 million plus controls in the last like couple of weeks of... Within a few weeks of recording this, I had $50 million health joint control. Crushed it by 60%. Didn't do sleep offer, crushed that, and we're crushing our live events for Copy Accelerator. You know, I'm active, I'm in the trenches, and a huge part of why I'm successful and helps my other copywriters to get better is by telling them to put more curiosity into their copy, more curiosity bullets or fascinations. The list bullet, everyone loves a list, right? 3 never discussed memory hacks that bulletproof your brain fast. The 7 major signs that an economic recession is less than 20 days away, page 65. The 1 golden phrase that makes any man desperate to ask you out on a date, right? So the list, like if you think about on like news sites like Business Insider or, you know, in magazine covers, it's like, there's always like those sort of listings, like those are fascination bullets and they do that to click, right? Here are the 5 best stocks or the 5 best meme coins to invest in now, you know, according to a crypto billionaire who called the last bull run, right? You'll see that on Business Insider. I mean, that's a fascination. They're doing, you don't have to use this for even like hardcore copy. They're using that stuff to get you to click so that they get eyeballs, so that you see the ads, so they can charge more advertising dollars, so you stay on the site longer. All of that is they're trying to use curiosity. Curiosity runs the road. Okay, the never bullet. Why you should never grill meat in the weeks following a natural disaster. The 5 words you should never say to a police officer during a crisis, at least if you want to avoid going to jail. The handy little hack that can ensure you never get another speeding ticket as long as you live, even if you act like a NASCAR driver behind the wheel. Right? So the never are kind of like contrarian, or they're warnings, or they're, you know, promising like implied pain if you don't know the answer to this, really, right? And pain doesn't have to be some terrible physical pain. It can be just getting a ticket. Or it could be worse, like going to jail. Or it could be more vague, like the grilling meat one. And so those are kind of tied into the contrarian bullet, right? Brushing your teeth is the best way to avoid gum disease, right? Nope. See why dentists now say swishing the silver-colored liquid in your mouth is 10x more effective. Page 45. So I did this as an example in a guide of natural remedies. Think turmeric will help stop inflammation? Wrong. Here's 3 kitchen spices you should use instead. The truth about salt and why more may be better when it comes to your cholesterol. So these are contrarian. These are things that people think they know the answer. You're saying what you think you know might be wrong, or you might have been lied to, or whatever. People hate being wrong, and they hate feeling like they've been deceived. And they also like contrarian stuff, a lot of them. So contrarian bullets are very powerful for that reason. All right, I think we got just a couple more here. We're pretty much done. The next one is the named oddity bullet. And this is what I was talking about earlier, where you kind of just create a name for something. So while using something called the Peking duck grip, can make you up to 3x more deadly with a knife. How something called weeping willow syndrome could explain the real reason you feel less balanced during menopause. Or the black chalk equation, famed economist John Maynard Keynes used to predict every single recession in his lifetime, usually up to 6 months in advance. Now again, making these up. I don't know, but you wouldn't make these up when you're writing copy. You would have to take your research, right? So you would just find stuff that makes sense. Like for example, maybe you know, something about weeping willows, and the reason they droop is because they're missing some key nutrient, right? And then you're talking about how when women hit menopause, they're missing some nutrient often in their body, like a magnesium deficiency or whatever it is. And you're like, that's why I like to call it the weeping willow syndrome, because just like these trees weep and look sad when we hit menopause and we're missing this key nutrient, we can feel more emotional weeping and sad too, right? Now, if I was a man saying that, it might not go over super well, but the point is you just find interesting stuff and you make it even more interesting. You make it create curiosity. Okay, the plus bullet, and this is where you add a little extra to it, really. So, for example, like, the speedy bullet first, and then the plus bullet. So these are just promising speed and things are going to happen quickly, right? Like, the 10-second speed pump that gives you bulging biceps in a fraction of the normal time. The fastest way to triple your income from home without ever logging onto a computer. Why adding maple syrup to your water can lower your blood pressure in less than 30 seconds, right? These are curiosity, and you're promising you can get some benefit that you want really fast, which people like easy, fast solutions. So you're promising, how you can share that. Okay, and then we've got our plus bullet where we're adding on a little bit of stuff, right? Like, so for example, the 10-second speed the 10-second speed pump that gives you bulging biceps in a fraction of the normal time, plus how you can use the same secret to get your legs looking like tree trunks too. The fastest way to triple your income from home without ever logging onto a computer, plus 5 profitable new businesses you can start right now for less than $20. Why adding maple syrup to your water can lower your blood pressure in less than 30 seconds, plus the surprising second ingredient that brings down your blood pressure even faster. So now all we've done is layer it on curiosity, or increase the benefit or the promise or motivation for the prospect to want to keep going and get their itch scratched, right? So you can do the same thing. You could just basically make a list here: why, how, when, what, the secret bullet, the list bullet, the never bullet, the contrarian bullet, the named oddity bullet, the speedy bullet, the plus bullet, and you could write your own fascinations. And you can even practice this if you don't have anything to sell right now. Just get out one of your favorite books, or go find an ebook online or a guide or a course or something like that, and find interesting things and then explain, and then practice with it. So, maybe you find a book about, you can find anything, like a book about the Civil War, and be like, the real reason why, I actually don't know about Civil War to do a good one about that. I know a little bit, but Civil War is not my strong point. I was going to be like, the real reason why the South lost at Gettysburg, hint, it had nothing to do with the generals and everything to do with this one weird, the temperature that day or something like that, right? I don't know. Pretty sure the South lost at Gettysburg, but, you can find any book and just do practice this stuff, right? That's what I'm trying to say. If you have questions, interested in learning more from me, go to stefanpaulgeorgi.com. I'm on Instagram at Stefan, it says Stefan Paul Georgi. It's actually at Stefan Georgi. I thought I edited that. At Stefan Georgi, forget that Paul, Stefan at Stefan Georgi, or stefanpaulgeorgi@gmail.com is my email address. You can email me too. Hopefully you enjoyed this. Hopefully you get a ton of value from it. And thanks for watching. Bye.